I think the great thing about that is as new platforms come about and as, technology advances, there's always going to be new beginnings. And so if you can, hone in on those beginnings and take advantage of them, that's a really good thing as an entrepreneur.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this episode of Mom Talks with Christa. I hope you're having a great week so far. I've got another exciting episode for you today. Quigley Goode was here. We talk all things fashion, motherhood, mental health, inspiration, and so much more. If you want someone that is down to earth, real, and honest, but also you'll find a lot of inspiration from, you got to check out this interview. It was just so cool to talk to her. I've been a fan of hers for a long time, and I just felt very inspired after. So I think a lot of you guys will too. So stick around for the interview, and of course, stick around at the very end for our Mom Tales of the Week. That's where we read some of your funny or interesting responses from our social media posts. You won't want to miss this one. So without further ado, here's my interview with Quigley Goode. So for those that don't know who you are, can you just say a little bit about who you are and what you do? And we'll kind of go from there.
Absolutely. So I'm Quigley, but some people know me as Casey Goode, and that's my real name. But Quigley is a name that I took on as a stage name for my music when I was releasing it when I was younger. And then I transitioned into using that for my blog. I started a fashion blog in 2015, which sort of evolved into a lifestyle blog and is now a little bit more like a mommy blog.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love the transition. I remember seeing one of your reels a while back where you kind of talked about your journey of like where you came from and kind of like how you've just kind of kept progressing and made your own brand. I think it's so inspiring.
Thank you.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? I know like you started your journey, you went on American Idol for your music, and you kind of talk about how that led you to then creating your own blog, getting into fashion, and so much more.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I'm a creative in all sorts of different ways. But when I was a little girl, I always wanted to be in the music industry. I wanted to be a singer or a pop star or a dancer or something like that. And so very early on, I knew that I wanted to try out for American Idol. Like when the show started, I was like, I'm definitely going to be on the show someday. And I was still doing, school. I started college and I was just kind of like taking generals and stuff. And I auditioned for Idol, made it on the show. And I think it was very much a whirlwind because I think I was very naive and young, and coming from Minnesota, I didn't really realize all of the things that go into making it a TV show. Like I very much thought it was a singing competition. And afterwards I was a bit discouraged, and I felt like I had no idea what I was going to do next. So I just went to school. I got a degree in journalism because at the time I was like, I'm not really sure what I want to do. Maybe I'm good in front of the camera. Like maybe I could be a broadcast journalist. So I got a job at a local television show. And for me, I was like, oh, I'll just go move to LA and maybe try and be like an entertainment reporter or do something like that. And this was really before social media got started. Like people had Facebook, but they didn't really have Instagram. They didn't have anything like that. And so when I went to school, I just studied like television production, which ended up, now that I do what I do, being a very, very valuable skills. So I learned all the behind the scenes of working in the TV industry. Then I moved to LA, and that's kind of when Instagram started to take off. And so I had one foot in the music industry still, writing songs and trying to figure out if I could still become a musician. And then the other was trying to explore this broadcast entertainment world. And I realized along the way that if I creatively collaborated with people on different photo shoots and we posted those to Instagram, that we'd get followers. It was like the weirdest thing.
Right.
It was such a foreign concept. And we didn't really have much intention for using Instagram other than to just share photos that we took. And like I said, those were really just promotional materials for my music. So I had all these different creative avenues and all of these things I was interested in. And I put out some music, and that to me sort of like flopped. It didn't do very well. And I was feeling really kind of resentful over a lot of things in the music industry that I think are really sexist. And so I just stepped away from that. And I listened to my gut and I pivoted and started a fashion blog. And because to me, it was like fashion was this other creative outlet that was less pressure. And I felt just that I could do more freely without, I don't know, all of the pressure of saying like, this is my one big dream. And so it just slowly sort of took off and I could see it growing. And so I put my energy there I gave myself 1 year. I was like, I'm going to start this fashion blog and I'm just going to concentrate on this. I'm going to put the music on hold. I'm going to put the, trying to be an entertainment broadcast journalist on hold. And I'm just going to focus.
Wow. That's amazing. And like such dedication to be like, I'm just going to focus on this for a year. And and look it turned into an amazing thing. And it's like, you were kind of like ahead of this like whole like Instagram, like influencer thing, which is kind of cool to think about.
Yeah, it is very much time and place. I think a lot of people maybe that are just starting out or, started later than me, it's hard because it's hard to compare yourself to the people that started, back when I started. So we were very lucky. But I think the great thing about that is as new platforms come about and as, technology advances, there's always going to be new beginnings. And so if you can, hone in on those beginnings and take advantage of them, that's a really good thing as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And so you mentioned always kind of, wanting to you're always being creative, but kind of pivoting different directions. So like when it came to fashion and you kind of had left music on the side for a little bit, what kind of inspired you in your fashion and kind of motivated you to keep going in fashion?
For me, it was almost therapeutic. It was like this healing space for me where I could not focus on, trying to be a pop star, and I could just like make art, like put together art outfits and get creative with friends. We weren't getting paid. So we were just having fun. And because I loved it so much, I wanted to do it all the time. And I made friends with these photographers and we were just like little kids again. And so it really felt like play. And then as I saw other people start to turn it into a career, then we started to get more strategic about it. But I think at first what kept me so motivated was just that I loved to do it for my soul. It felt very healing. And when I realized it could be a career, that's when I got really focused and I was like, okay, I'm going to learn everything I can about this industry. Even though there's no roadmap, I'm just going to look at the people who are succeeding and doing well and see what they're doing and try and like copy that formula. Which worked for a long time. And then I got to a point where copying someone else's formula didn't really work anymore because, I'm sure, trying to be somebody else is like, it's really hard to thrive in that scenario. So I was on this mission to become what I thought was the perfect fashion blogger, which was like have a perfect grid, have the most beautiful photos, take the most amazing, pictures in the most expensive outfits. And I drove myself to complete and utter burnout trying to be amazing at that, which I'm not going to lie, I got really good at it. But then I realized that what I was creating was this thing that was therapeutic. Maybe for me, it was fun to put that art together, but for other people to consume, it might have come across as either inauthentic or just surface level. And I really wanted to reach people in a deeper way than that. So that's when I thought, okay, well, I'm running a brand, I'm running a business, but I'm doing it for me. So how can I change this, scenario, flip it on its head and realize that I'm offering a service? And if I had a service with my blog, apart from just like inspiring people from a visual creative standpoint, what would I say? And that's when I realized that I could really use my platform and what I had built to talk about the topics that I used to write about in my songs and just apply that to my captions. And so the captions became longer and they became sort of like a diary of my journey through finding my identity as a woman, the ups and the downs of success and failure, our mental health, and how we as a generation are kind of pioneering this relationship that we have with technology, because it's hand in hand with our businesses. And that's, I think, what really set me apart from other bloggers.
Yeah, it's like you really like humanize yourself, because when you're just looking at different platforms, you only see like you said, like the surface sometimes of different influencers out there. But I think one of the things like and I'm sure many other women that follow you enjoy is that you're so vulnerable, you're honest, and you share kind of like all sides of yourself. You have like humor. I know I found like, I think you and your husband first through like a funny video you guys posted. And I just thought like it was so real, and it was so like refreshing to see, because you get so caught up in like comparison, looking online. But when you kind of see someone that like, you're like, oh, she's real. She shares like the good, the hard times, and it allows us to kind of humanize a little bit more, I think.
It's hard, dude. It's hard navigating the world of social media, but I really hope that my intentions are clear, and that I can show people that you can be creative, and you can, have fun with taking photo shoots and creating visual content and narratives in that way, but also show people behind the scenes as well, that most of the day I'm sans makeup and I'm doing mom stuff and just trying to take care of myself and inspire other people to do the same.
Yeah, I love that. And so since becoming a mom, like how has your business pivoted, or how have you changed your message, or, empowered other women?
Well, it's kind of weird because I found out I was pregnant with Max a month before the pandemic.
Oh,
so
wow.
They really they go hand in hand. Like I can't tell the difference between motherhood, like starting motherhood and the start of the pandemic. So they're oddly intertwined in ways that I don't know if I'll ever be able to distinguish between the two, because, the pandemic is lonely enough being stuck. Like we were all so isolated and still are to a degree. But then, going through motherhood and being pregnant, I didn't see like almost any of my family for the entire thing. Like I always imagined having a baby, like being really supported by other women in a big community. So we definitely had to find different ways to connect. And, that really changed. It made me more present in a way on social media, because that was our phones are our connection, our way to interact with people. And so I actually did find a lot of really wonderful communities online of new mothers and mothers to be, and some different resources. And yeah, it honestly was kind of weird, because there were a lot of times where I was like, I actually don't have much FOMO right now, because even though I'm home and I'm sick and I'm pregnant, like nobody else is doing anything either. So it's fine.
Right. You knew like everyone was in their home space. So yeah.
So that was a little bit of a blessing in disguise, in the sense that like I didn't feel that urgency to go out and do stuff and to achieve, which I felt my entire life. I overwork myself, and I like am addicted to achieving. So for me, I was like, oh my God, when I get pregnant, am I going to be able to slow down? And I do think I gave myself a little bit of a breather, even though for most people, they probably are like, no, Quigley, you never stopped. But I didn't start any new projects, which is great.
There you go.
Except for him. I was focused on building a human for 2 years,
Right.
almost 2 years. So I'm proud of that.
Yeah. It's almost like life was like, here's your time to just focus on what's in front of you right now. Yeah. I've heard that from a lot of people, is that like being able to see, the silver lining with the pandemic is like, it gave them time, which it was really hard on a lot of people. I know like my mental health struggle. I know a lot of people, struggled, but also in other ways it let them discover different parts of themselves that they either were neglecting, or, they didn't make time for. we were kind of forced to be alone with ourselves and forced to understand ourselves a little bit better sometimes. You also talked a lot about, and I think this is when I kind of had started following you, or maybe like a little bit after on top of having your son in the midst of the pandemic, he had contracted COVID while in the hospital. So what was that like firsthand? You're going through this pandemic. There's a lot of scary things on the news. So like, how did you kind of go through that?
Well, this is the thing. When life gets hard, the only choice that you have sometimes is to just move forward and take one day at a time. I was like every mom who was pregnant during the pandemic, their one thing was like, I got to protect my baby. Like it can't get sick. And that's like your biggest fear when you're pregnant is that like your baby's going to get COVID. And Max got it. He was 14 days old.
Oh my gosh.
We know that he contracted it from his pediatrician. It was heartbreaking. And it was like, I felt like complete and total shock. I was like, this is not real. I am living in a movie. This is not real.
Mm-hmm.
And the weirdest thing, like strength just came out of me in places that like I never knew it was there. And there was no choice to like cry and crumble. It was just like, I have to be strong for this baby. And there's no, like my brain couldn't go to the bad places. My brain couldn't go to the, okay, what if?
Mm-hmm.
It was like in that moment, all I could do was just be a rock for him. And I was shocked. And so for me, what I took away from that and what I learned was just that like, sometimes we imagine these outside scenarios happening. Like we imagine the worst that could happen. And sometimes imagining it is worse than it actually is when it happens. And I think that we can all learn from that in a sense, because we do worry, and worry creates this stress of, imagine scenarios that happen in the future, and your whole body reacts to it as if it's happening in the moment, even though it's not. So for me, since I was in that state of surprise where I was like, well, this is actually not as bad as I imagined it, it made me go, okay, now every time in the future when I'm imagining these terrible scenarios happening, how can I change my brain chemistry, and how can I visualize myself, even if the terrible thing does happen, finding that magical strength inside me, and having that confidence that, hey, if this happens, I'm going to find that strength, or it's going to come through. And then maybe it diminishes the fear and the worry.
Yeah, I love that. I've heard too, like about like actually like saying, okay, what is the worst thing that could happen? Okay. Like, and a lot of times it's like not as bad as we always make it in our head, or yeah, it's like, I think we have that, like our brain tends to just like throw negative things out and we have to like fight against it. It's definitely a challenge. I get that for sure.
Totally. And I'm not going to say it wasn't hard. It was hard. I think the hardest part was just being isolated, because I was in the hospital by myself for 12 days as a brand new mom. They had to put hazmat suits on and
oh my
they
God.
come in to see us. And, thank God for FaceTime.
Yeah, that's where it's like, I'm so glad we have all this technology that made like, quarantining like super, like you could at least connect with people. And I was telling someone too, it like people that maybe I wouldn't have normally like hung out with as often, I got FaceTime calls more, and it was more like in depth, because you're spending more of like a focused, time with someone.
Yeah.
You also talk a lot about mental health on your page, being vulnerable. And like I said earlier, I think that's just such an awesome side to your page, because so many moms and women can relate. And so how do you personally take care of your mental health? What's something that you like pay attention to like, okay, that's like a signal, like, okay, it's time to work on my mental health or take care of myself?
The first thing I'm going to say is that everyone listening, like if you do struggle with anxiety and depression, just know that it ebbs and flows, and you'll always have periods where you feel good, and you'll always have periods where shit gets hard. Like for me, I think the idea that I'm somehow going to reach this like constant where I'm good all the time is setting myself up a little bit for failure because I'm not a monk.
Mhm.
I would love to get to a point where I'm like just peace all the time, but sometimes chasing that makes me feel like I'm failing. So it's easier
Mhm.
for me to just say like, it's okay to be where I'm at in this exact moment. And as far as the anxiety goes, I do take Zoloft, so that helps. And for me, it's just paying attention really to my body and seeing if I can create time for myself to get into my body, whether that's breath work or taking a shower or going on a walk by myself or just having a moment to just like fucking shake it off. And obviously as moms, like being alone for a second can be really hard, but I'm very thankful to have the support of my husband and my mother-in-law, and ask for help when I need it.
Mhm.
Like I did not realize how fucking hard it is to ask for things, for help. I did not realize how hard that is because you don't want to bother people. But it's really, really wonderful having that support.
Yeah, that's huge. Being able to ask for help. We talk about that all the time in our group
Yeah.
about like, it's hard. I think as women, as moms, you are wanting to be the caretaker. You want to take care of everyone, but it's okay and it's not weak to ask for help yourself.
Oh, absolutely. And that goes for not just like asking for alone time, but I've had to really say to my husband, because we both work together, we work
Mhm.
on social media, and I've had to really be like, I need help in the kitchen, or I need help with the laundry, or I need help with the things around the house. And that to me it just felt so wrong. And it's so weird that like we're living in this society and I consider myself a feminist, but I have a hard time asking my husband to do the dishes. Like, what the heck? So, but
Mhm.
it's very eye-opening that just some things we are socialized on such a deep level that we don't even realize it.
Yes, absolutely. And so you started a page called Soulcialmedia, SOUL,
Yeah.
social. And can you just tell us a little bit about what it is and why you created it?
Well, I came from a family of teachers. My mom was a teacher and both my grandmothers were. So for me, once I felt like I had kind of mastered the industry of being a content creator,
Mhm.
the first thing I wanted to do was like shout it from the rooftops and tell everybody how I did it so they could do it too.
Mhm.
So it was easier to create an online class than get on a bunch of roofs and scream. So
Right.
I did that and it was lovely. We recorded it and truly was so wonderful seeing the impact of that. And so we created our social media business where it was the online class, different resources and guides and stuff for people to learn the industry. So that's kind of been on pause, to be really honest with you. That side of the business, we haven't grown it since I released my TikTok class in 2020. But yeah, I'm hoping that I get to keep expanding that side of the business because it really is a fulfilling thing to help other creators not only navigate the industry, but also navigate what it means to be a creator on a personal level as an artist and how it can affect your relationship with yourself.
Well, I know you kind of talked about when you wanted to move into fashion and you're going to give yourself a year, you kind of put music on the back burner a little bit of the side. So I'm kind of curious, I'm sure others that are listening are, what are your plans for the future? Are you wanting to get back into music? Are you going to kind of keep going with fashion, photography, and yeah, what else do you got going?
So this year I was looking at 2022 and I was like, okay, if I'm going to start a new business venture, what would it be? And I thought about a lot of different things and I was thinking maybe I'd start a clothing line or maybe I'd write a book or maybe I'd, start a cooking channel or renovate a house or just whatever. I was thinking of all of these things I wanted to invest my money in and I was like, wow, what if I just was my own record label and just
Ooh.
invested my money in making the music I always wanted to make? So I think for me, so much of why I do what I do is because I want to inspire other people to take leaps of faith on themselves. And
Mhm.
so at the end of the day, it's like if I can take that giant leap of faith on myself and just go risk it all to do the thing that my soul has always wanted to do, then hopefully I can inspire other people to do the same. And if I don't, there's no losing, because like it's all about the journey, right? So I'm not attached to any sort of like, oh, I need to be on stage at the Grammys or else. It's really just
Mhm.
going, okay, opening up my heart and not being the person to tell me no.
I love that too, because you can kind of just try something or just do something that your soul, as you said, is like calling you to do, and not being so pulled into the end result, but saying, you know what, this is what I'm called to do right now, and kind of just see how it goes. That's amazing.
Well, here's the thing, because I was saying you can't be a musician because people don't make money in the music industry. You can't be a musician because you're too old. You can't be a musician because you don't want to go on tour. You shouldn't spend time making music because you're not going to see the return on money.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, are we ever guaranteed any to see a return on anything? Like if I started a clothing line, I'm not guaranteed a return.
Mhm.
So it's like at the end, that was like trying to tell the future and totally pointless.
Mhm.
And just because no female artist mom has ever become a pop star in her 30s before doesn't mean it's not going to happen now.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel like you can always like have all the reasons, why, oh, it hasn't worked before, it isn't, but it's like, what about the reasons it could work, or what the reasons that you're different, or yeah, you can stand out.
Yeah. And so now that I've told my audience I'm going to go back into music, I can't back out on it.
Right. Accountability, right?
Yeah. They're going to hold me accountable. And I'm just like, okay, we'll see what happens. I'm going to make music. I don't really, I'm sure people will listen to it. And if a lot of people listen to it, great. And if only a couple do, great.
Yeah. Because again, it's something that you're passionate about. So you're going to enjoy doing it no matter what. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it's really just like when I say I'm becoming a pop star this year, it's pop star energy. It's just that
Mhm.
energy of I don't give a fuck and I'm going to do what my heart desires and hopefully inspire other people to do the same.
Love that. That's amazing. And I think, yeah, just by you saying that is going to inspire people to chase after their dreams or their passions. So this was an awesome interview. I always like to end these with, I call them a fun thinking question. So if you could have a billboard made today where you could share one tip with moms everywhere, what would you have it say?
This is going to be so complicated, but try and follow me here. The best exercise that I have been able to formulate as a mom is in moments of high stress and in moments where I'm wishing I were somewhere else. Like I'm wishing I could just get to tomorrow, or I'm wishing I could just get to the next nap, or I'm wishing I could just have time to like brush my teeth.
Mhm.
In that moment, if I can just pause time for a second and imagine my 80-year-old self, or like myself that's on my deathbed,
Mhm.
and imagine that person remembering what it was like to be a mom and being able to enter my body in the current moment.
Mhm.
What would that person want to be thinking and feeling? And what would they miss?
Mhm.
So I did this exercise a lot. And it was generally when I was like frantically trying to get the baby to sleep and like bouncing him on the yoga ball.
Mhm.
And I would just think about my 80-year-old self, and my 80-year-old self would just relish in the beauty that is the baby and
Mhm.
be able to just fucking forget the shit that doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, in that moment, it really helped me dissolve all the I should be here, I should be there, I wish I was somewhere else, and just find gratitude for the moment.
I love that. Finding gratitude for the moment. Yeah. I love that like self-reflection, but like in a deeper sense, like picturing the future too. I love that.
Don't wish it away. I guess that's the simple version. We can put that on the billboard.
There you go. We could put really small font on the bottom too. Awesome. And so where can everyone follow you, see all your exciting things, projects coming out and everything else you do?
Officially Quigley on Instagram and TikTok, and officially Quigley is my .com is my website.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. It was awesome talking to you and meeting you. I just think your story is so inspirational. And I just think so many of the moms and women listening are just going to be inspired by you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Christa.
All right, guys, it's time for our Mom Tales of the Week. And this week we reached out to you and asked, what accomplishment are you most proud of as a mom? And of course, we got some amazing responses. I think it's always important to look back and reflect on your own life and journey as a mom and see those accomplishments you've made, because I think it's so hard when you are in the thick of it to, question yourself. But looking back, there are so many things that you're doing amazing every day. So here we go. We got a lot, but of course we just have a little chunk here. All right, number 1, Nicole. Being able to carry both of my babies to term since I was told by multiple doctors since I was 12. Wow. I probably wouldn't be able to get pregnant, and if I did, I'd never be able to carry a child to term. Can you imagine hearing that when you were 12 years old? That is shocking that a doctor would tell a child that. I don't know obviously what the circumstances were, why he told you that, or he or she told you that, or what came up, but that's still very heartbreaking to hear so young. So that is a beautiful and amazing accomplishment, that regardless of what you were told by your doctor, you were still able to have 2 beautiful babies. Okay, number 2, Kelsey. Just having my baby. We were told it shouldn't be able to happen easy or naturally, and we did it anyways. Every day that I continue to keep my little guy happy and loved is a big accomplishment for me. I love that. I love that it's kind of on the same theme where you were told it shouldn't be able to happen easily or naturally, and you did it. So that is amazing. That is a huge accomplishment, like you said. All right, number 3, Keely. Learning to ask for help and learning my breaking point and how to calm myself when I reach it. I've struggled with both of those things forever, and I'm so proud to grow within myself for my girl. I love that. I love this self-reflection, because like I was just talking about, it's so easy to see like your struggles when you're in the thick of it or think you're not good enough. But looking back, the growth and the strides you've made every single week, every single day is huge. So I just see so much improvement and self-awareness in that post. So awesome. All right. Number 4, Nisi. I'm mentally healing with the help of family and friends and other Facebook groups from my birth trauma, and so far I'm doing really good. Another big thing I'm proud of is having a great milk supply. I have enough milk to feed my daughter, and I even donated some milk because I have oversupply. That is amazing, and that is huge to go through birth trauma and still be dealing with, how it feels, and asking yourself, how am I going to heal from this, get through this, understand my birth, and being able to lean on family and friends and Facebook groups for support is amazing. And of course, that's amazing with your milk supply as well. Way to go. Okay, number 5, Brittany. Being able to breastfeed. I wanted to give up so bad at first because it hurt, but I'm so glad I pushed through. I now love breastfeeding. That is amazing. I think so many times when things are challenging, we think maybe this isn't the journey for us, I want to give up, but you persevered, and that is an amazing accomplishment. Number 6, Lexington. Oh, I like that name. It's different. Cute. Okay, giving birth and going through labor in 3-hour car ride. Giving birth and going through labor in a 3-hour car ride. You gave birth in a car ride. I need to know more about this story. That is impressive and amazing. I've seen different videos where this happens online, and I'm always so amazed. Wow, you go, girl. That is very impressive. Okay, number 7, Ashley. Getting me and my daughter out of a toxic and abusive house, then thriving on our own with a little help with my mom and stepdad. That is huge. That is amazing. I mean, props to you, knowing you had to get out and protect your daughter, and you did just that. It's definitely not easy, especially in a toxic and abusive environment. That's got to be very tough. So that's amazing. You are amazing. Number 8, Courtney. Literally everything, but recent life-changing moments, learning to read, learning to tie shoes, and figuring out how zippers work. That is amazing. Those are great accomplishments that your child is now able to take those steps that you've taught them. And that is amazing. Those are all big accomplishments. And I love that you start just saying by everything, because everything is an accomplishment. And so it's just how we view ourselves and look at our own journey that we can see those as accomplishments. Sometimes we like to compare ourselves to others and say, well, they're doing it, so I should be able to. No one should be able to do anything. Everyone has their own journey. So the fact that you're able to acknowledge everything that you've been doing is amazing. Okay, number 9, Katie. My almost 3-year-old daughter won't let us eat until we've prayed, and she has the sweetest little prayer that always starts with, "Thank you, Jesus," and then she lists off 2 to 3 things she's thankful for, like mama, friends, or baby shark. I love that she adds baby shark in there because that's something that's near and dear to her heart. But that is so sweet because that's obviously something that you guys have instilled in her or taught her or she saw you guys do. And I love that. I love that now she's like, hey guys, I got this, but we can't eat yet. Let me take care of the prayer. I got this. That's cute. Awesome. Number 10, Tara. For me, it was getting through the baby blues phase of postpartum. They hit me really hard the first week home alone with our son. My husband went back to work and my grandma went back to her home state. I was so thankful to have help around the house, but that suddenly home alone with my baby was not good. I was easily triggered by everything and would cry and be super emotional. Being a first-time mom, I felt like I had no idea what I was doing, but my son thinks I'm the best mom ever despite my frustration in those first weeks. Overall, I think every day is an accomplishment. We do so much as moms that we let things go unnoticed, even ourselves. That is an amazing thought, start to finish, because you really covered your transition in that. What a lot of moms go through. Baby blues, postpartum depression, emotional, hormone changes. So there's so much going on, like adjusting to being a new parent. And the fact that you can stop and realize what you've accomplished is so big. Taking that time to acknowledge what you have done and what you are doing every day, every hour is so important. So that's amazing. I love that. Awesome, Tara. Awesome. Well, I love these responses. People have been sharing them in our Facebook group and on Instagram. So if you want to add to the conversation, I highly recommend you go to our Instagram or join our Facebook group and you can share your story about your most proud moment so far as a mom. And like I kind of started this off with, proud moments don't have to be this grand gesture that's going to make everyone's jaw drop. But what's a proud moment to you? What is something that you thought you weren't going to get through, or something that looking back, you're like, wow, that was tough, but I got it. I got this. So I think just making sure we find something that we're proud of ourselves for each day. No matter how big or how small, just find that thing. Ask yourself right now, what am I proud of? What am I proud of as a mom, as a woman, anything? And I think just having that self-awareness and appreciating yourself and what you've done is a huge stepping stone. So that's all I got for this week in Mom Tales. Join me next week for a whole new episode. Bye, guys. Hey guys, if you found this or any episode of Mom Talks with Christa helpful, please like, comment, subscribe, and of course, share it with your friends. We release new videos every single Wednesday, and our new podcast is out every single Thursday. So lots of different ways you can catch us. And of course, if you're not following us on our socials, go ahead and follow us there. We've got tons of new content for you every single day. And finally, if you're watching this and doubting yourself, you're doing a great job. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.